In Spain, three random people are activated, shown from a light that glows briefly in their eyes. At a rooftop party, a man tosses another over the balcony before he is gunned down by cops. On a bus, a young man berates another for being in his country before he causes a fight and is chased in the street, while at a square, a woman stabs a mother and takes her child but is soon tackled and restrained. Meanwhile, newly divorced mother Jenny Franklin arrives in Madrid as a chaperone for her daughter Becca's figure skating team. They soon arrive at the hotel along with the other skaters and mothers, and Jenny and Becca get a room for themselves. Later, Jenny comes to apologize to Becca for an earlier argument they had, and the two make up. Becca is about to get her period but realizes she is out of tampons, so Jenny decides to grab some for her downstairs. She gets into the elevator when a man suddenly tosses gas inside, knocking her out. Jenny comes awake inside a room surrounded by men in suits who turn out to be CIA agents led by Agent Chauncey. Jenny demands to know what they want with her, reminding them she is an American citizen, but Chauncey knows better. He tells her a story about a young female asset embedded in the US from the 90s, gifted in the art of infiltration and assassination, known by the intelligence community as the Whisperer. The CIA lost track of her after the fall of the Soviet Union, and though there are many rumors about her whereabouts, Chauncey believes she saw a chance to live a normal life, got married, and had a child right here in the USA. All this time Jenny is freaking out, seemingly lost for words at what she is hearing. To make things worse, Chauncey declares that Jenny is the Whisperer, real name Anya Petrova. Jenny denies this, insisting she is just a normal mother and he has the wrong person. But Chauncey is playing no games and orders her killed. The agents surround a freaked-out Jenny and are about to kill her when Jenny suddenly snaps, swiftly dispatching the agents around her and fighting off others trying to find a way out of the room. During her battle, she tackles an agent through a window only to realize that the hotel room was fake, and all her actions have been captured by agents with cameras. Chauncey then welcomes her back before she is knocked out again. A flashback to 1994 Russia. We see a young Jenny, who is tasked with capturing the daughter of a bioweapons engineer trying to defect to China. Jenny encounters the girl, Fina, inside a club and entices her and Chinese dealer So Yun to dance with her. In the present, Jenny wakes in her room with Becca worried as she found her passed out, but Jenny lies that she was just tired. Becca then leaves to go hang out with her friend Maddie, and while Jenny tends to her earlier wounds, Chauncey appears behind her. He has a few missions for her, warning that if she refuses, she will be locked up for the rest of her life and Becca will live a very hard life. He leads her across the hall where he introduces her to his tech support Christopher, and when she shakes his hand, her hand glows for a second. Jenny learns about the 3 incidents in Madrid where the 3 perpetrators' lives were ruined by their strange actions. Jenny boils it down to mass hysteria, while Chauncey thinks someone may have assumed their identities, copying the MO of the Whisperer, and tells her the CIA wants her to get them answers. The only thing common between the 3 is a connection to an Austrian gunrunner named Yannick Mayer, who is currently locked up in a military hospital. Jenny's way into the hospital is through a maintenance manager, Tiago, who hangs out at a biker bar every night before his shift, and the plan is to use a device to replicate his eye. Jenny doesn't think she has the body to be a honey trap and expresses her doubt and anger to Chauncey. But he knows she is just upset that she got caught after many years and warns her to get into the frame of mind before they lock her up. Later, Jenny is still struggling over the thought of getting back into the field. Knowing she doesn't have a choice, she downs some bottles of alcohol to settle her nerves before changing her clothes and cutting her hair, feeling pleased as she sees Anya staring back at her. Another flashback to 1994, we see Anya and Fina walking through the city, where Fina explains that So Yun is the son of a Chinese ambassador and she and her father are staying at the Chinese embassy. Their walk leads them into a train station where they encounter 3 thugs looking for trouble. The guys follow them, mocking the girls for their lifestyle and planning to turn them straight. Fina isn't intimidated, enticing the guys to show them what they're working with, but when the guys do, Fina attacks them and chases them off. In the present, Jenny arrives at the bar with Chauncey and Chris guiding her through an earpiece. She sees Tiago's bike and kicks it over before calling him outside, telling him the men that did it took off, but Jenny knocks him out and scans his eye and sends it over to Chris. Later, Chris duplicates Tiago's eye in a contact lens while Chauncey gives Jenny the layout of the hospital, but reveals they don't have Yannick's exact location, making the mission more difficult. Jenny is also worried about Becca, as she is supposed to return in an hour, but Chauncey reassures her she should be home before that. Before she heads out, they present her with a high-tech Kevlar suit, and while Jenny isn't keen on wearing a skin-tight suit, Chris reassures her its only role is to bring her back in one piece. In 1994, Anya walks Fina to the Chinese embassy and watches as she greets her father. Anya returns to the train station, where she finds Fina's necklace. Just then, a cloaked woman grabs Anya, demanding to know why Fina was allowed to return home. Anya's reason is that she didn't want to scare her or her father, but the woman demands that she stop thinking and start acting before walking away. Jenny arrives at the hospital in the dead of night and uses the contact lens to get access to the building. Christopher cuts the power and opens the main door, but Jenny finds herself standing in the middle of a group of inmates. She takes off running with the inmates chasing after her. She sets up a barricade in a locker room, but the men break it down and begin closing in on her. Jenny goes into a bathroom stall. Then suddenly her body begins to contort painfully, changing her appearance to that of a male. By the time the inmates get to the bathroom calling for Jenny, she steps out disguised as the security guard in full uniform and chases the men away. Chris has no idea what is happening, but Chauncey already knew Jenny had the ability to transform. Jenny locates Yannick's cell and brings him his meal, but Yannick hears the guard's accent and attacks. The two struggle until Jenny reveals the CIA sent her to help him investigate his associates' deaths. Yannick calms down, then begins to reveal that he was hired to assess some company's security for a particular person before he begins to choke, having been poisoned, and he soon dies. She locates his cell phone with Chris's directions before escaping from the facility and back to Chauncey's van. Jenny attacks him for not telling her she was breaking into a prison, but Chauncey thinks they're even as she tried to hide the fact she could morph. She hands over the cell phone before painfully morphing back to herself. Chauncey brings a weakened Jenny back to her hotel room, revealing he knew all along she was the lone human subject to survive the KGB Yaroslav program. What he doesn't know is the immense strain it puts on Jenny's body and organs, and she now doubts she can sustain another morph. She wonders how the CIA found her and learns that a former KGB operative sold him a lead, but she finds this unbelievable as she wiped her past completely. Chauncey deflects, reminding her about Becca, but has crafted a cover story for Jenny. He also suggests that she send Becca home so she can have no distractions, but Jenny knows he doesn't have kids from his statement, but promises that she will handle it. She wonders if she will have a normal life after this, but Chauncey cannot say. Meanwhile, Becca is at home freaking out as she hasn't seen Jenny all night when Jenny returns. She doesn't understand what is happening with her mom. From the bottle of alcohol, her cut hair, and wearing Becca's clothes, she thinks Jenny is having a midlife crisis, but Jenny reassures her she is fine. The two go for lunch where Jenny is downing her food as a side effect of her morphing. Becca mentions her father being missing from her rehearsals, plus the fact she hardly knows anything about her own mother. Jenny tells her she will explain everything soon, but Becca has heard this all before. Back in 1994, Anya is at the club with So-Yun, where she learns Fina was grounded after her last outing. She entices him to give her Fina's number, and he warns that the line is always being monitored. Anya hacks into the communications from the building next to the embassy and calls Fina. The two talk all night until morning, where Fina explains how she lost her mother during the Chernobyl meltdown and somehow lost her necklace, the only thing she has left of her mother. Jenny recalls finding the pendant but doesn't mention it, instead telling Fina her own story about losing her mother, and the two connect. In the present, Chris reveals he is unable to pull info from Yannick's cell phone without the router used to encrypt his calls, which he has traced to a crime-ridden section of Madrid. Chauncey contacts Jenny, but she is at Becca's skating practice and refuses to leave. Jenny goes to sit with Maddie's mother, whom she is a bit close with, telling her about her strained relationship with Becca, but learns that she is not alone in her struggles. Maddie's mom has heard about Jenny disappearing from the hotel for periods of time, but thinks Jenny is trying to get laid and promises to keep an eye on Becca for her. Chauncey and Chris arrive at the router's location, and Chauncey warns Chris to remove his expensive watch, but Chris refuses to, noting that it was a gift from his mother. However, With much pressure, Chauncey gets him to at least hide it. They knock at the door, which is answered by a young boy who lets them inside when they request to talk with Yannick. They are led to another room filled with wayward teens just hanging about, many of whom are running a high-level troll farm. The boy claims he is going to call Yannick, but they know Yannick is dead and are getting worried. A young woman steps out telling them Yannick is on the way. Chauncey pulls his gun, but the entire room of teens pulls guns, including a World War II anti-aircraft gun. Chauncey reveals Yannick is dead, showing them proof. Chris begs for them to let them go, but Chauncey refuses to leave without the router, promising that the CIA will allow them to continue operating. The girl agrees, but demands Chris's watch as part of the deal, leaving him wishing he had listened to Chauncey. Jenny and Becca return home, where Jenny tries to connect with her again, but Becca just wants to get ready and go hang out with her friends. Apart from numbers, Chris finds a list of coordinates which lead to specific locations around the city, 3 of which correspond with 3 victims' workplaces, all in close proximity to the royal palace. Yannick had used them to get intel on their businesses. What Yannick's end goal, or who he was working for, is lost to them. Chris then identifies a 4th target, Lydia Osorio, who is still alive and set to get married tomorrow. Chauncey and Jenny arrive at Lydia's wedding. As they wait, Jenny asks him about his love life and learns Chauncey was engaged once. She reveals she only got married because she was pregnant with Becca, and the love for her husband never really developed. Just then, Lydia enters the wedding all bloodied and holding a knife. Her groom suddenly also pulls a gun, seemingly unable to control his actions, forcing Chauncey to shoot him. Jenny chases after Lydia and stumbles upon the bodies of her bridesmaids outside, but Lydia has disappeared. Jenny and the two get back to the hotel room, where she suspects that Lydia was under some sort of mind control. Chauncey thinks the culprit is trying to frame the Whisperer, but Jenny swears to find Lydia and get some answers. In 1994, Jenny returns Fina's necklace to her, but it turns out to have a tracking device implanted inside, which Jenny's handlers are using to map out the embassy. In the present, Jenny is going through Lydia's profile, where she realizes that Lydia is an orphan. She figures that now, with everyone dead, the only place a scared Lydia would hide is at the cemetery. Jenny tracks down Lydia, who pulls a gun warning her to stay away. Jenny just wants to help and steps forward, and Lydia fires off a round. Lydia turns the gun on herself, but Jenny stays with her, trying to talk her down, telling her she understands that she had no control. Lydia calms down, then explains that she was just getting ready with her bridesmaids when she heard a humming in her head. The humming seemed to put her into a deep sleep, and when she woke up, everyone was dead. Jenny asks about Yannick and learns that he hired her to bring building details to Apoco Franco, when she is suddenly attacked by a man. She fights him off, but another knife-wielding woman manages to push her back. Lydia lets off shots, allowing Jenny to escape, but she is captured by the assassins and taken away in a car. Chauncey and Chris pull up after looking for Jenny and see no sign of her, but Jenny suddenly appears at their feet, revealing an invisibility ability. Chauncey tends to her wounds back at the hotel room and learns he was Special Forces in the U.S. Air Force. He asks about what he saw at the cemetery and learns that she has the ability to control her skin to bend light around her. There was nothing about this ability in her files, and he asks if she has any other hidden abilities. He wonders how the morphing ability even works, and Jenny takes his hand, explaining that she collects the DNA of whoever she touches. Jenny wants to go after Lydia, noting that she is not much older than Becca, but Chauncey reminds her of her injuries and how dangerous their attackers were, even suspecting that Lydia has already been killed. That night, Jenny orders some buckets of ice and dumps them in her bath. She steps inside, and the cold water seems to activate her healing abilities. Another flashback shows Jenny's and Fina's budding relationship, still communicating from the neighboring building. Fina expresses her feelings for Jenny, thinking she is falling in love, but this causes Jenny to feel guilty. Chauncey reviews video of Jenny's encounter with the assassins from cameras in her contacts and identifies them as the Jackals, a team of mercenaries. They get a hit on one of the mercenaries, Carmo Volter, a former Special Forces with a strange brand on his hand, which Chauncey plans to find out what it means. Chauncey goes to meet with an old contact, Davi, who reveals he heard that Chauncey was disavowed from the CIA a year ago and wonders who he is working for now, but Chauncey does not reveal his employer. He shows Davi Carmo's brand, and learns it is used by a drug gang called Poco Franco. Chris manages to narrow down the neighborhoods in which Poco Franco operates, and Ginny notes that Lydia could have given the security plans to anyone. If they can find out who heads the Poco Franco gang, they will be able to find out who hired Yannick and has been taking out the assets to cover their tracks. Ginny plans to investigate, and she heads to another room where she morphs into So-yoon, a face she has not seen in a long time. Another flashback shows Ginny talking with her handler when she notices she is being followed by a man. She chases after him to the roof of a building, but in trying to escape, the man falls over the edge but manages to hang on. He promises to tell Ginny everything if she saves him. She helps him up, but the man is suddenly shot and killed by Ginny's handler. The handler comes to her, scolding her for not killing the man and reminding her of her protocol. Ginny checks his pockets only to realize the man was KGB, but the handler already knew this. In the present, Ginny, disguised as So-yoon, stands at an area where she notices a dealer parked in a car and approaches the man. He pays $300 for a dime bag and walks away, but it turns out there was a tracker embedded in the cash. After a while, the tracker stops at the Inferno nightclub owned and operated by Felipe Calero, whose family is deep into real estate around Madrid. Chauncey plans to investigate tomorrow and calls it a night. Ginny returns to her room to see Becca packing as she is going to move into the team room, and Ginny is happy hearing that she is getting along with the rest of the team. That night, Ginny goes through Felipe's profile and figures out the type of person he is and how to easily get to him. She and Chauncey head over to Club Inferno with Chris providing surveillance from their van outside. They get to the floor where the tracker signal is coming from and realize there is a special room being guarded by men. Ginny and Chauncey then fake a confrontation, causing Chauncey to get dragged out. Just as expected, Felipe comes to her rescue, making it clear that he owns the club and wants to make up for her troubles. Ginny plays hard to get, but Felipe promises to personally show her a good time. He takes her hand, and Ginny absorbs his DNA. The two sit for drinks, and Ginny gives him a fake backstory, enticing him even more. At that moment, Felipe's brother Andres alerts him to an issue, so he excuses himself. Once alone, Ginny morphs her hand into Felipe's and uses it to gain entrance to the secure room. She begins looking around until she stumbles upon Lydia, scared but alive. Ginny quickly removes her clothes and camouflages herself before Felipe, Andres, and his men enter. Carmo has been interrogating Lydia, but has learned nothing from her. He also tells Felipe about the woman who he encountered while trying to capture Lydia and thinks it's the same woman who broke into Yannick's prison. Felipe asks Lydia about her, but she swears she knows nothing. She then begs Felipe's nephew Ramon to help her, revealing she knows him. But Ramon explains that her husband only bought Poco Franco from him. Felipe intends to kill her, but gives her the chance to fight for her life against Ramon. Ramon slaps her around at first until Lydia rages out and fights back, beating Ramon down. Felipe stops the fight and congratulates her, but suddenly kills her and also Ramon, all while Ginny is forced to watch, with Chauncey reminding her not to blow her cover. Felipe reveals Ramon was a traitor, feeding their enemies intel about taking out the liberal prime minister. He then orders Carmo to find Ginny and Ramon's own brother to dispose of the bodies.